Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Luffy died of heavy usage of Gear 5 and start his new life with Uda? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Icyiclo for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. The last heartbeat of the warrior of liberation rung softly throughout the quitted field of corpses and fire. He did it, but at a very unfortunate cost. The world government was of no more. The world could be a better place now. He passed with a smile. One of freedom and carelessness, unrestrained and strong. But there was no more. The adventure was over. He woke up in a place of dark and light. Only a frame of a figure stood around him. "Whoa, where am I? Am I dead?" the boy asked out loud, only getting his echo in response. "Monkey D. Luffy. Who's there? Where am I? Do you have any food?" The figure took shape of a man. A pirate. Gold D. Roger. "What? No way!" Luffy screamed at the sight of the Pirate King. "I've been watching you for a while, but it seems the show's ended. Ha ha ha. How would you like to try again?" Roger asked, sitting across from Luffy. "Take a seat, will ya?" Luffy sat down in front of the man, ecstatic and suppressing his emotions. "So, I'm dead, right?" he asked the Pirate King. "Yep. You had quite the adventure there, little kiddo. Can I ask you a few questions then?" Roger smiled and brought out a pouch from his hat. "Sure, I'm all open for your questions." Roger laughed before twisting the lid. "What exactly is the One Piece?" Luffy asked in a serious tone. "Or is it something made up so people could go on adventures?" "You want to know about my treasure or you want to try to find it?" Roger asked with a grin. "Is it somewhere here? Do you have it?" No, but I'll tell you this, little one. My treasure isn't at Laughtail." "Then where is it?" "I don't know, I forgot," Roger shouted. "What, you forgot?" "Nah, I'm just teasing, it somewhere in Laughtail, but there's no way to find that island." Roger took out a paper and a pencil and set it in front of him. "If you sign this paper, it will give you a second chance at life. You'll start over at age of 7, but you'll retain all former knowledge like hockey and names and faces etc, but they'll only come back as you go along." "Wow, really? So I can go back and save Ace?" Luffy asked, feeling the need to take the offer. "If you try hard enough." "Are there any catches to this?" "Nope." Luffy took the paper and pen and signed his name at the bottom. "How come you haven't done this?" Luffy asked as he set down the items. "I lived a healthy life, I don't have any reasons to go back, plus, I get to spend some long-needed father-son time with Ace." "Ace is here. He's probably fighting with Sabo right now. Anyway, off you go. It was nice meeting you, Gold D. Roger. We'll meet again. Take this for granted, kid, and make the best of it. Adventures as a pirate last forever," Roger shouted as Luffy's body began to glow a golden shade. "What's happening to me?" Poof. Luffy vanished with traces of gold dust. Luffy has now been set on a brand new path of his choosing. The first thing he sees when he wakes up is a ship in the distance over the seas. A small girl just bigger than Luffy himself stared him down from the bow. She had red and white hair split down the middle, fixed into 2 braids that dropped to her waist, and another 2 set up like rabbit ears. The ship bumped into the harbor, rocking against the smooth waves of the evening sun. "Hey, you." The girl tilted her head. "What do you want?" "Are you guys pirates?" Luffy asked with a tone that challenged the girl. "Yes, we are." "Do you have a problem with it?" the girl asked back with a short grin. She jumped up and sat on the railing. "If so, you can tell me. I'm Captain Shanks' daughter, Uda. If you are pirates, go away. Or what, are you going to fight us?" Uda taunted Luffy. A red-haired man in a straw hat walked past Uda. "Stop it, Uda. We're not here to fight," he said to her, and then looked at Luffy. "I didn't know there was a tough sheriff in this village." "Who are you?" "I'm Shanks, the captain of this ship. If you trouble us, I'll make you pay," Luffy warned Shanks with a fist. Uda turned away and scoffed. "Like a wimpy brat, like you could leave even a scratch on Shanks," she huffed, jumping onto the dock. "Oh, yeah, then fight me, scaredy cat," Luffy shouted, sticking his tongue out at the girl. "Bring it," Uda shouted back, throwing up her fists. "Uda, what did I just tell you?" Shanks chuckled, looking over the railing. "But Shanks," Uda whined. "You've just got here and you've already made a friend." "He's not my friend, I don't even know his name," Uda hissed at the man, pointing at Luffy. "My name's Monkey D. Luffy," he shouted and spat into his hand, holding it out for a handshake. "Vomits into the ocean." "You're disgusting," Uda gagged, taking hold of the ladder that had been dropped. "Do you have any manners whatsoever? Go away, filthy brat." Uda disappeared into the ship, so Luffy went back to meet Makino. Several hours later, the crew all came and introduced themselves to the village. "Turns out, they aren't so bad. When I grow up, I'm going to become a pirate," Luffy shouted as he walked into the bar. "Alright, who influenced him?" Shanks snorted, getting a laugh out of everyone. "Well, being a pirate sounds fun. You get to go on adventures and travel the world and fight other pirates." Uda jumped off of the stool and grabbed Luffy by the nose. Only strong people like Shanks can be pirates, you're just a weak kid, she scowled. I'm 7, Luffy remarked in a weird voice that nearly broke Uda. And way too young, Uda added, holding in her laugh and letting go. Well, I plan on getting strong before setting out, Luffy shouted at her. Uda was about to get after Luffy for smartmouthing her, but Shanks grabbed her by the shoulder. Calm down, Uda. It's nothing serious, really, he assured. If you can be a pirate at age 9, I don't see why Luffy can't be a pirate when he grows up. I was raised by pirates. It looks like you need some fresh air, Beckman said to her. Go take a walk and bring Luffy with you. When you come back, I'll help you to some lunch, Makino giggled. Uda rolled her eyes and grabbed Luffy by the arm, dragging him away. Uda, take good care of Luffy, Shanks said before they left. Aha. Luffy stamped his foot into the ground, stopping Uda. No, Shanks. I take care of her. Hey, when did I get taken care of, a child like you, Uda asked tauntingly with a smug grin. I'm not a child, Luffy barked, getting close to Uda's face. You're just a child to me because I'm 2 years older than you, undeniably, Uda laughed, pulling down her eyelid and sticking her tongue out. Luffy boiled with rage and a face of red, but Uda caught him by surprise by running out of the bar. Race you to the sea, she giggled. Wait for me, Luffy shouted, running after Uda. Loser faces punishment, Uda said, sticking her tongue out once more. Hey, no fair, Uda. Shanks looked at Makino and sighed. I can't tell whether they like each other or not. They're so cute together, Makino giggled. It's always nice to have a friend who's close in age. Makino tipped a wine bottle over a glass, letting it slowly pour. When is your next voyage? I'm planning to leave soon, Shanks replied, taking the glass. He'll miss you. Well, it's not a final farewell. Once we return, they can play with each other again. You're right. Uda and Luffy paddled competitively across the sea in barrels. You're losing, Uda shouted. No, you're, Luffy yelled. First one to that rock over there loses. Up ahead, a rock with a blue line down the center stood still. The two paddled closer until the rock moved. Hey, that's not a rock. Quickly, Uda and Luffy began paddling the opposite way as the rock turned into a sea beast eating a fish. What's wrong, why are you turning back, Uda asked with total fear. Why aren't you going back, Luffy questioned back. Because I already touched it. Liar. After reaching the shore, Luffy and Uda laid on the grass, panting and shaking. What the hell was that, Uda asked, turning over to Luffy. That's our local sea monster. You should have told me there was such a thing, Uda whined, sitting up. Gee. Shanks would have kicked its butt like wham. Uda turned away with a big mischievous grin and smug expression. You screamed and ran away, how pathetic you ran when we bumped into mountain bandits the other day, too. I landed them one at a time and you ran away, too, Luffy growled with embarrassment. That's because I am the musician of the Red Hair Pirates. My job is to sing. If I come aboard Shanks' ship and become a pirate, I'll be able to beat that thing, Luffy said confidently. Uda gave him another look. What? You're always talking about becoming a pirate, but what would you do when you become one, Uda asked, standing next to Luffy and marching to the horizon. I have a dream I will travel around the world with Shanks, make so many songs, and make the world happy with great performances and my singing. She turned around with a giggle and a hopeful smile. I will build my new Genesis. Wow, okay, I'll build my new Genesis, too, Luffy shouted, annoying Uda. Don't say it like it's easy. So what's your new Genesis like? Luffy leaned back and smiled. I want to travel the world, I want to go to a variety of places, meet a variety of people, and eat a whole ton of different food just like Shanks. That won't change the world, Uda said, putting a hand on her hip. I'll think of something soon. Uda let out a great laugh. One that soothed Luffy. That's so you, she giggled. I'm flattered. I didn't mean that as a compliment. Luffy and Uda looked at each other and shared a laugh. Let's build a new Genesis, Uda said, throwing out her fist. Yeah. Luffy bumped his fist on Uda's. I think I thought of something. It's been 30 seconds. I want to go to places that need help and help them. I'll make a crew that'll exceed Shanks and will be unstoppable. I'll protect the people that need it and stop bad guys from hurting them. Uda shook her head and sighed. There's no way someone as weak as you can do all of that. Hey, you never have anything nice to say to me, Luffy shouted. Oh, Luffy, you take everything so seriously, Uda giggled. Luffy kicked a stone, facing away from Uda. Meanie? And that's something cute about you, she whispered. Did you say something, Luffy asked. Nope. The very next morning, Uda was forced to rat Luffy out. Shanks had him by the collar of his shirt, escorting him off of the dock. Damn, take me with you. I can't believe you snuck in. Uda-chan, I heard you found him. Thank you, Makino tipped to Uda. Shanks dropped Luffy in front of Makino and he quickly spun around and pointed at Uda. I thought you were gonna support my dream, he growled. When Shanks says no, it's no. You. Uda put her arm out, forcing Luffy to back up. What do you take most pride in, she asked. My strength, Luffy replied. Then, become even stronger. If you become much stronger than now, I'll ask him to take you with us. What? Uda gave him a cruel smirk. Did you think I'd say that undeniably? Uda giggled as she watched Luffy fill with embarrassment. Let's go, Shanks. Set the sails, guys, Shanks ordered the crew. The boat began to leave the harbor. Shanks, when you come back, I'll definitely get on board, Luffy shouted at him. Yeah, try if you can. Uda. Uda looked over at Luffy. Undeniably. Uda puffed her cheeks, but laughed it off and began to wave. When I return, I'll test to see if you've become any stronger, Luffy. Luffy and Uda looked at each other until neither was visible. Hey, Shanks, how long with this trip? Uda asked, holding her arm behind her back. You miss him already, Shanks teased. Shanks, Uda growled with a pink haze in her cheeks. It shouldn't be longer than a week. Go play with Monster to pass the time or something. I don't want to play with a stupid monkey, Uda pouted. Makino held a glass of juice out to Luffy. This Uda, she asked. Yeah, I hate it when Shanks leaves, Luffy sighed. He'll be back soon. He can't stay here forever, you know. I know, but it feels so long even when it's not. There's always work to be done in the bar. Maybe later, Makino. Good night. Good night, Luffy. Good night, Uda. Luffy. Good night, Luffy. Uda. The day was Shanks' last day as he was going to the Grand Line. It was a great and fun experience, hanging out with Shanks and his crew, but more specifically, Uda. She was his best friend, even though there was a 2-year difference in their age, and Uda would tease her brag every time she won in a competition. Now, Uda was being told to grab her belongings before they set out. While we're leaving now, Uda gasped, turning around and setting down her cup of juice. It's best that we set out before the sun sets, Uda. But Shanks, I'm nowhere near ready, we just got back, didn't we? Shanks handed Uda a large backpack full of her stuff. We got that covered for you. How long are we gonna be gone, Uda asked, grabbing her bag. Just a week. The island we're going to is a surprise. Ooh, a surprise. Yep. Can we please bring Luffy this time? It gets so lonely on the ship and you've never let him even see the deck. Shanks eyed Uda. Did Luffy tell you to ask me? No, seriously, I want him to come, Uda pleaded, stomping her right foot. Uda, we've talked about this. Luffy can't come sailing with us. He's way too immature and someone as small as him would easily get hurt in the pirate world. Having you aboard is already a challenge enough, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. I can keep Luffy under control, plus, he's only crazy because you keep cheating at that stupid coin game. Don't act innocent, you cheat in every single game you two play, Shanks playfully scolded her. I would still win, it's just more fun to cheat, Uda scoffed, folding her arms. We're getting off track here. You have 5 minutes to say your goodbye to Luffy and then we gotta go, okay? I don't wanna go. I said, I don't wanna go on this voyage, Uda repeated. What are you talking about? I thought this place would be great as a learning experience. You were gonna take me to an island so that I could learn. Well, yeah. Shanks, how dare you, I'm very well educated already. Shanks sighed and turned to Makino. A little help here, this young lady is being stubborn, he whispered. What's happening? Makino asked, popping up from behind the counter. I need help, he mouthed. Oh yeah, hey, Uda, once you come back, I can help you with the lyrics to your song, Makino giggled. Really, you're willing to help me? Uda asked with sparkling eyes. Hell yeah, okay, Shanks, give me a few minutes to say goodbye. That's the spirit, Shanks chuckled as Uda ran out of the bar. Thanks, I owe you one. No problem. After Uda found Luffy by the windmill, she grabbed his hand, scaring him. Uda, what are you doing? Luffy asked, trying to retain his balance in the windowsill. I'm gonna go with Shanks on another journey, but we'll be back before you know it. How long? A week. Only usually your trips are like a million days. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, Uda sighed. I asked him to let you come this time, but he said no again. Oh man, Shanks is such a pain. You don't say. Where are you guys going? Luffy asked. He said it's a surprise, but I don't like surprises, Uda said, resting against the wall. Maybe you should just go then. I'm sure me and Makino can find something to do. I know, and I am going. Makino and I made a deal, so I can't wait to get back. Uda handed Luffy a small paper. But why did you give me a piece of paper? Luffy asked, holding the small corner of a paper. Suddenly, the card jerked towards her. It's a Viver card, Shanks made it for me, Uda giggled, holding Luffy's palm. The paper will always point in the direction I'm in, never lose it, okay? Oh, okay, where do I put it? You could just keep it in a glass jar and keep it in here. Good idea. There was a moment of silence before Uda put her arms around Luffy. I hate going on these voyages because that means I don't get to see you, she sighed after pulling away from her hug. I won't be gone long. I know, just make it back safe. Tell Shanks I said bye for me. You're not gonna go do it yourself. I wanna watch the sunset. I would watch it with you, but I got to go. It's okay because we can do it WHD and you get back. Luffy laughed. Yep, okay, bye Luffy. Bye Uda. 5 days later. Along the horizon, Luffy could see the Red Four sailing to the village. Makino, Shanks and Uda are back. Luffy giggled, pointing outside the bar and jumping up and down. Oh, are they? I expected them to be back in at least another 2 days, Makino said, setting down her cloth and walking to the ports with Luffy. Uda, hey. Uda didn't even bother to look up at Luffy and kept an expression that puzzled Luffy. Once they docked, in came the questions. Why does everyone look so sad? What happened on your adventure? Luffy asked Beckman, but was ignored. Shanks. Don't worry about it, kiddo. Why don't you and Uda go take a walk while we talk to Makino? Shanks said shakily. Okay. I still wanna know what's going on. Ask Uda. As Uda slowly walked down the plank, her eyes watered when they met Luffy's. Uda, what's wrong? Luffy asked. Why are you and everyone so sad? Something went bad on our adventure, Uda finally answered. Things went down, and I got people killed. No, 2 killed people. I murdered thousands of innocent people because I did something stupid. Uda broke down into tears, but was accompanied by Shanks and Luffy. And if wasn't for Shanks and the others, who knows what could have happened. Hey, I already told you it wasn't your fault. It's okay, Uda, Shanks assured, cradling Uda in his embrace. If anything, it was my fault for letting you read that damned music. Well, I forgive you, Uda. If Shanks says it wasn't your fault that people died, I believe him. Luffy chuckled, hugging Uda from the front. Thank you, Luffy. A few weeks go by. Uda has still yet to recover from the horror she witnessed, but being with Luffy soothed her. After hearing the full story from Uda, Luffy became more aware of the dangers of the world, but that wouldn't stop him from playing with Uda. Beckman, Shanks said after pulling him aside. What is it, boss? I've just received message that Newgate wants to meet in the New World. New World? That place is a living hell for newcomers. Your bounty will surely increase after taking the blame for the Alvida incident, so you'll be an even greater target than last time. I know that well. My main concern is Uda. I don't think it's a good idea to bring her to the New World, especially if we're meeting with Whitebeard. I agree, Beckman, but I don't want to leave her alone anywhere. So leave her here with Luffy. Let them grow up together. But I also want Uda to become a successful singer. That's her dream, and I'll do anything to support it. Shanks pulled out an eternal pose from his coat. No matter what, I want Uda to have this, Shanks said. It's an eternal pose to Elijah. Gordon still roams to lay loyalty to the kingdom and giving Uda access to train her career with him. You're going to give Uda an eternal pose. Shanks took out another. Do. One for Elijah and another for Fuchsia village. I also already gave Uda a Viver card for Luffy. Why not just leave both of them on Elijah then? Because Uda will grow up around Luffy. You've seen the way she acts around the boy already. You're scared to become a grandfather? Beckman asked with a small smirk. Perhaps. I'm sure neither are into that. But if you choose to keep them separated, that's all on you. What I'm saying is, I want to bring Uda back to Elijah, but I wouldn't be able to stand them being apart. Beckman slapped Shanks. We're taking Uda to Elijah. We can't leave Uda here with Garp. You know what? You're right, Beckman. We're taking Uda to Elijah, and that is that. Shanks, Beckman, Luffy's in trouble, Uda cried, suddenly appearing. And what kind? Shanks asked. The deadly kind, Uda screamed, pulling on Shanks. By the docks. Beckman ran inside the bar to grab the rest, and Shanks ran in the direction Uda pointed. Uda, you stay with Makino and Monster, Beckman ordered. But Luffy. Luffy will be fine, we can't risk your safety. Down at the harbor, Luffy was being beaten by a man and his gang, though now, Shanks was there to stop it. Let the kid go, Shanks demanded. And what will you do about it? One step closer and he'll shoot you, Haguma threatened, holding Luffy by the heel of his boot. He said no closer move and I'll blow your head off, the bandit said, holding a gun to Shanks. Put your life on the line. Huh. Now that you've drawn your pistol, put your life on the line, Shanks repeated. What the hell are you talking about? Shanks pushed the gun away from his face and turned to the bandit. Those things aren't for threatening people. Click, gunshot. The bandit fell to the ground, blood pouring from his head. At the same time, Lucky Roo shook the smoke out of his gun. And now they're done it. These bastards are fighting dirty. Dirty, Asap said. Cut the crap. What, do you think you're dealing with saints or something? Beckman asked. Listen, bandits. You can drench me in alcohol or even spit on me, but anyone who hurts my friends has to pay, Shanks growled. Ahaha, has to pay, lousy pirates, kill 'em all, men, Haguma ordered. Beckman pulled out his gun. This should be easy. Get Luffy. Bam screams. The final bandit sword pierced the ground after he fell, creating silence. Hold on, the kid attacked us, Haguma pleaded, panicked. You're a wanted man. Crap. Haguma pulled out a black sphere and slammed it on the ground. The smokescreen. When the smoke cleared, Luffy and the bandit were gone. Damn it, I let my guard down, and now Luffy is gone, Shanks yelled. What do I do now? Stop freaking the hell out, boss, it shouldn't take us too long to find him, Lucky Aru assured him. Out in the sea, a massive creature sprouted from behind Haguma as Luffy began to drown. What the he? Jump. The sea beast ate Haguma and his boat, leaving Luffy helpless. There was a red and black flash just as the sea beast leaped toward Luffy. As Shanks, Luffy gasped, trembling in his grasp. That lost, Shanks yelled at the creature. The sea beast swam away with immense fear. I'm in your debt, Luffy. Makino told me everything you fought for us. Luffy grabbed onto Shanks' shirt, crying without a nearing stop. Hey, don't cry, you're a man, Shanks said to him. But Shanks, your arm, Luffy wailed. Shanks' left arm was missing, and his shoulder was dripping with fresh blood. It's only an arm. It's no big deal. I'm just glad that you're alright, now let's get you to shore. 2 days later. Uda had fainted every time she saw that Shanks was missing an arm, and Luffy was still traumatized. Now, the crew was packing and hauling supplies into the ship as they prepared to leave in the next 15 minutes. Uda, I need to tell you something, Shanks said, grabbing her hand with his one arm. I'm taking you back to Elijah, and that's the final decision. What, Uda gasped, pulling her hand back. And no. King Gordon wants to raise you to become the world-class diva that you always dreamed of being. It would be such a waste of talent to not, don't you think? No, I don't want to go back, I'm the reason why that place has so many graves, Uda sobbed, clutching her dress. Uda, you said this is what you wanted. Well, I don't want to, I'm still so guilty. You can come back here once Luffy reaches 17 because that's when he wants to set out on his journey. 17, but that's 10 years, Uda yelled. I'm not waiting 10 years to see Luffy again, that's way too long. I promise you that when you become the greatest singer, I'll come to your first concert, but training takes time and practice. Once Garp comes back, he'll be training Luffy until his 17th birthday, so you have something to look forward to. Shanks took a small drawing out of a chest and handed it to Uda. I found. You took this from my room, Uda growled with a blush in her cheeks. I got it a frame, that's all, Shanks chuckled, holding out an equally sized pink empty frame. There were some other drawings that gave me a little heart attack, though. You saw nothing, Uda squealed, hiding her face. Stay out of my room, Shanks. Anyway, it's time to say goodbye to Luffy for the last time. I have a few things to give him. Wanna come? Is that even a question? Uda ran outside, dragging Shanks by the coat. The second she found Luffy, she hugged him. Uda. Shanks is taking me to become the best singer in the world. But that means I won't get to see you for nearly 10 years. Luffy turned to face Uda. She was very clearly holding back tears. Then that's such a long time. I know, but in the end, I'll still end up being your first crewmate, Uda giggled softly. You've decided you're gonna join my crew, Luffy asked with a weak smile. Of course. Shanks walked up to Luffy and sighed. Luffy, before we go, I have something to give you. Uda stole Shanks' hat from his head and placed it on Luffy. Hold on to this hat for me. Take good care of it and come bring it back to me one day once you've become a great pirate, that's our promise, Luffy. Luffy broke into tears behind the hat. Uda stuck her tongue out at Luffy and laughed. You'll be too weak to become the captain of our crew, so I'll be it, Uda teased. Crybabies can't be captains. Uda, don't act like you weren't flooding your room with tears over leaving Luffy, Shanks remarked. As Shanks, Uda scoffed with embarrassment. I was not. I've got a video. Uda kicked Shanks in the leg and pushed him down the stairs. She then turned to Luffy and held her fist out. Luffy, what do you take most pride in, she asked. My strength, he sniffled. Then become really strong so that when I return, we can call ourselves pirates, Uda giggled. Luffy bumped Uda's fist with his and smiled. Okay, I will, he said. Now stop crying before I start crying, too, Uda added. Uda took a step down the stairs when Luffy suddenly called to her. Uda, when you get back, can you sing me a song? Well, duh, I'm gonna sing to you every day, Uda giggled, jumping down the flight and landing on the wooden dock. Shanks took Uda aboard and pulled up the anchor. The ship sails opened and the ship was immediately thrown out onto the water. Luffy, Uda waved. I'm gonna miss you a lot. Luffy waved back, but they were too far away to hear what he had said. So now, the two had one last competition, a staring competition until neither was longer visible, which ended in a draw. Are you ready? Deep, panicked breath. I'm scared, Shanks. It's okay. There's nothing to be scared of. It's still him. Is it really okay for me to join him? Of course. No one here is holding you back. Shanks placed his hand on her left shoulder. Go say hello for the guys, and Makino told me he's been waiting for this day for years. Well, so have I. Uda, go, we gotta go. Okay, I'm going. Uda hugged Shanks one last time before running off to the bar. Bye, everyone. Take care of Luffy. Have fun. If you ever plan on getting drunk, keep protection around. Gossip. I'm just kidding, get outta here. TCH asshole. I'm finally back, Luffy. The diva the village had once known as Luffy's friend has finally returned after 10 years. Nothing had changed. It was as quiet as ever. I'm home. Uda fixed the backpack on her shoulders and started the walk to Party's bar. Even the outside hadn't changed a bit. I wonder if Luffy is in here. Can I help you? A small, dark-haired, green-eyed woman asked, showing herself shortly after she said that. Uda's eyes met hers and a moment of silence was shared. Uda. Makino. Uda dropped her bag and ran toward Makino, spreading her arms and matching her embrace. Oh, my days, it's been so long, Makino gasped after pulling away. Uda's smile had only grown wider. How have you been? Uda sat down at her old chair, facing Makino. I've been great, though it's been very lonely without Luffy. It was just me, Gordon, and the guys. But I've become a great singer, Uda giggled, dabbing her eyes with her sleeve. Well, it's great to have you back, Uda. I'm sure Luffy would have a lot more of a dramatic scene than me, Makino said, handing Uda a plate of food. You must be hungry. Uda nodded and devoured the meal. Speaking of Luffy, where is he? Uda asked after rinsing her own dish. He's living in the mountains with the Dayton family. I haven't seen him in a few years since he came to deliver a paper, Makino sadly sighed. Garp's been training him, though, from what I've heard. Garp, Uda repeated. I wonder if he knows what hockey is. Makino set her apron on a hook and turned to Uda. What's that? Uda stiffened slightly. Don't worry about, Uda said calmly. It's just something the crew taught me. Shanks and everyone have been training me since I was 10-11. I forgot, Uda giggled, rising from her seat and stretching. Luffy's heading out in a week. Do you still wish to join him? Makino asked, sitting across from Uda. Uda had put her hair up in her rabbit style. Of course, I promised him I would before I left, and my desire to do so will kill me if I didn't, Uda said. I wonder if I still have it. Uda's brows raised. Have what? Makino reached into a small, hidden drawer and pulled out a paper. Is that? Yes. It's the picture I took of you, Luffy, you know. Let him, Uda finished, blush filling her cheeks. Gog him that. Uda snatched a photo from Makino's hand and stuffed it in her sweater. Has he seen it? Uda asked. Makino shook her head. Phew, I couldn't face him. If he did, it would be so awkward, Uda giggled. I think I'm going to go find Luffy. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Makino. Uda sprinted out of the bar after grabbing her bag. Makino waved goodbye, crying quietly. She's grown so much, I can't wait to see how far Uda and Luffy go on their adventure. Our little village boy and diva are now big, strong adults ready to sail the seas. Uda kicked down a tree that was in her way. A group of monkeys scared her shortly after. Ah, Uda screamed, having been jump-scared by the appearance of the apes. Oh, I know you, you damn monkeys. The largest monkey eyed Uda down. Ooh ah. Wait, I can just use Conqueror's hockey. What am I doing? Uda asked herself. A red and black spark shot out from Uda's eye. One by one, the monkeys fell unconscious. Easy, Uda laughed in her victory. Uda opened a small box and held the paper inside in her palm. Instantly, the paper jerked forward. He isn't too far away, then. I can almost sense with my observation hockey, but Luffy is too far, damn. Uda followed the dirt path up the long, steep hill. It led her to a small home that looked like it was pretty old. There was a flower pot with no flower and a doormat that said, go away. Uda knew this was it. The Viver card was going crazy. Knocks on door. Footsteps. Uda's heart raced as the footsteps grew louder. It pounded harder and harder with each beat. Then suddenly, the door cracked open. A large woman smoking a cigar stepped out in a dirty purple t-shirt and jeans. What do you want? Her tone was sharp and snappy. Hi, are you dating? Uda asked, holding her hand out. The woman folded her arms. Are you here to pick up a kid or drop one off? I can't keep any more brats in here, so buzz off. That ticked Uda off. Is Monkey D. Luffy here, asshole? I'm not in the mood to put up with attitude like that this late at night, Uda snapped at her. The woman growled, but sighed. Luffy isn't here. He's probably off somewhere fighting a sea beast again. That brat has been bringing in more meat than I can use. Uda's jaw dropped. Sea beasts? Luffy's fighting sea beasts. Aiden stepped back inside. What business do you have with Luffy? Garp is already on my ass for not making him do the crazy shit he's doing with him. I'm Shanks' daughter, Uda. I'm Luffy's friend, Uda responded proudly. You've got to be kidding me, first the grandson of Garp and now the daughter of red hair. Uda exhaled sharply and began to walk away. If Luffy comes back before I meet him, send him to Makino, Uda said. Whatever. Or, closes. Star. Before Uda could even take a step, loud, running footsteps approached her. Aiden opened the door. I brought us some more meat. The figure grew more vivid as it entered the light. Uda squinted her eyes and peered through the dark, only to see a boy carrying a massive backpack sprinting her way, but he stopped. "Hello," he said. Uda's gut twisted. "Wait, I know you," the boy shouted, dropping the bag and running at her. "You're back, Uda." Luffy, Uda cried, jumping into his arms. Luffy picked Uda up and squeezed her gently. "Shushi, I've been waiting for you." Uda looked up at his face. Holding back tears was not an option. The two had a long period of hugging before both jumped back and laughed in sync. "Are you joining?" "Yes." The dark red substance dribbled from Luffy's arm and Uda freaked out. "Your arm," she exclaimed, running up to him and ripping off his sleeve. There was a massive triangular tooth in his shoulder. A sudden surge rushed through Uda and she yanked it out. Luffy looked over to his shoulder and frowned. "I guess the tiger did bite me," he shrugged. Uda used the torn sleeve and wrapped it around his shoulder before grabbing his cheek and stretched it. "How did you not notice that you had a tooth in your damn arm?" she yelled. "I don't know. I didn't feel anything." Uda watched as his cheek snapped back in place. "Oh, yeah, you ate that rubber fruit before I left, didn't you?" Uda said. "Yeah, my whole body is made of rubber now," Luffy chuckled, stretching his arm out and grabbing a banana from a tree. As Luffy went to peel it, Uda took it and ate it in front of him. "I'm not surprised." "Thanks for the snack, loser," Uda giggled, grabbing Luffy's arm with Haki. "Let's go back to Makino." "You know Haki, too," Luffy yelled as Uda dragged him down the mountain. "Shut up, let's go, I'm tired," Uda shouted. Okay, geez." Luffy lowered his voice. "I knew women were mean, but this is crazy." Uda heard that. The day was the final day. It had become clear that Uda had grown quite fond of Luffy while she was gone. Requests for pictures and teasing were just as common as breathing. Nonetheless, it was time for Luffy and Uda to set out on their adventure. "What should we name our crew?" Uda asked, taking her cheek with her finger. "How about the King of the Pirates?" "No. Galaxy Destroyers. You suck at making names." "Well, you're not helping." "I'm thinking." Uda looked up at Luffy. More specifically his hat. "How about the Straw Hat Pirates?" Uda suggested, showing Luffy a satisfied smile. "That's lame but fine," Luffy sighed. "Good, we finally agreed on something. Now what should we do for the flag and sail design?" Luffy was about to speak up, but Uda interrupted before he could start. "Hey. I'll figure it out later," Uda said and shrugged her shoulders. "Okay then, let's set sail," Luffy shouted, jumping off of the ground and throwing his fists into the air. "How are we supposed to go anywhere? We don't have a boat." "Yes, we do." Moments later. "But that's not a ship, Luffy. That's a dinghy, way too small for us," Uda said. "It's the best we have. Stop complaining, we can get a better one later on." "Is it packed?" The Makino said she filled it with clothes and food and some money. "How much?" Approaching footsteps. "A few weeks' supply of everything." Luffy and Uda turned around to see Makino, the village mayor, and a lot of other villagers, including the monkeys. "I know it's not much, but it should be enough to get you to the next island," Makino said, smiling at the two. "I think it's already been 10 years, the mayor sighed, shaking his head. "Hate to say it, but I think I'm going to miss the chaos you two bring." Monkey chatter. The two laughed in sync and gave the villagers one big smile. "It's been fun, this is the only home I know, so I promise we will never forget you," Uda said, starting to hug everyone who came up to her and Luffy, as did Luffy. "I promise that one day, we will come back here." Luffy nodded his head in agreement. Uda jumped into the small boat and untied the rope. Luffy jumped in and faced toward the island. "Hey, if we die, tell Shanks he sucks," Luffy laughed. Uda used a paddle to push off of the shore. "Aye, everyone," Luffy and Uda shouted, waving. "Aye, Luffy, bye Uda. We'll miss you. Become strong pirates for us." Deep growl. "What the hell was that?" Uda said, beginning to panic. "Oh, that must be the Lord of the Coast. He's mad because I broke his jaw a while back," Luffy responded, searching the waters. Splash. A sea beast emerged from the water and opened its mouth in attempt to bite the boat. "Ah. Gum pistol." Roars in pain. The sea beast plunged into the waters and swam away. Uda dropped to the bottom of the boat and let out a relieved sigh. "If we sink, we're dead. You and I both have devil fruit," she shouted, laughing in her words. "That hurt, I think he got stronger as well," Luffy said, rubbing his knuckles. "To be fair, you punched its skull. It's like the most dense thing in a sea beast," Uda explained. "If you had gone for the stomach or neck, it wouldn't have hurt so much." "Oh. Good to know. Why didn't you use Haki?" Uda asked, sitting against a barrel. Luffy sat down across from her and began rowing. "I can't use it for long, and it's still super weak, or so what my grandpa says." "So I seems we have the same troubles." Maybe we shouldn't use hockey until we reach the Grand Line, Uda suggested. At least Armament and Conquerors. You can use Conqueror's hockey. But like I said, let's not use it. Luffy nodded and tossed Uda 2 paddles. We'll move faster if you paddle, too. Uda rolled her eyes and groaned. I don't wanna. Bonk. How did you just hit me with the paddle? Uda growled, rubbing the top of her head. No. Dimhaya. Bonk. Oh what was that for? Luffy yelled, rubbing the top of his head. And what happened to not using hockey? I can't hit you otherwise, you're made of rubber, Uda said, raising her fist to punch Luffy. So technically speaking, I shouldn't be able to hit you effectively without using hockey. Uda swung her fist. A large bump formed on the top of Luffy's head. Now you used hockey, didn't you? Luffy whined. Uda was so confused. She hadn't used hockey. No, I didn't. Why did it hurt you? She asked herself. Well, that's fortunate for me. Hits with paddle. Stay away, Uda. Stop hitting me with the paddle. As Uda was rubbing her head, she watched Luffy's face turn to horror and he began paddling incredibly fast. What are? Whirlpool paddle, he shouted. Uda turned around. A massive whirlpool was ahead, sucking their boat closer and closer. Uda grabbed her 2 paddled and began rowing as fast as she could, but it was too late. I'm too young to die, Uda cried. Dead in the barrel. What? Barrel quick. Uda saw the deep pit below and jumped into the barrel that Luffy was in. Here we go, Luffy shouted, closing the lid. Get your hand off of my face. Then get your foot off of my dress. I can't move. Well, neither can I, so shut up and pray we survive this, Uda growled. The barrel began spinning clockwise. Faster. And faster. I think I'm gonna pass out, Luffy, Uda mumbled, trying not to puke. Me, too. The barrel was swallowed by the whirlpool, knocking Luffy and Uda unconscious. Riding time. Yes, I finally hooked the damn barrel, a sailor aboard a vessel exclaimed. Took you long enough, another snickered. It's embarrassing how long it took, a third remarked. Shut up and help me reel it in, it's very freaking heavy. You can't pull a barrel a couple feet out of the water, wow. You really are pathetic, Sailor scoffed, walking to Sailor, who was struggling to pull. Let me try. The man handed him the rope and he nearly fell in. What the hell, hey, this really is heavy. On the count of 3, we all pull, Sailor suggested. Sounds good. Okay, 3. 2. 1. Pull. Splash. The barrel was finally pulled onto deck, knocking all 3 men over. What's in it? Sailor asked, looking over Sailor's shoulder. Maybe it's gold. Pirate stumbled back. There's a pirate ship, we've got a pirate ship in pursuit, warned the lower levels. The other 2 sailors ran downstairs to the ballroom where they met the captain. Captain, we've got pirates, Sailor shouted. Boom. But the captain yelled. Everyone please stay calm. Across the waters, the pirate ship sailed closer. Fire. Boom. Boom. Koby, a rather large woman shouted. Why yes, ma'am, a small pink-haired boy responded, bowing in front of the woman. Who is the most beautiful of all in these seas, she asked. Well, that would be the captain of our ship, Lady Alvida, of course, Koby nervously stuttered. Body laugh. Alvida smashed her mace into the deck and looked out into the distance. Good answer. That means a lot to me, Koby sighed, relieved. It's been a while since we've had some action, a tall, dark man said to Alvida. So make it count, give it all you got, boys, Alvida ordered, which was followed in a loud cheer. As the pirate ship bumped into the other ship, the barrel the sailors had caught rolled down the stairs into a room. A woman with short orange hair and a large dress ran around, finding herself out on deck, but immediately ran back inside after seeing the pirate ship's crew throw hooks onto the railing. Here we go, time to show them the terror of Iron Club, Alvida, Lady Pirate of the Seas. The pirate swung and ran across the ropes, raiding the ship. Meanwhile, Koby stood behind, holding a rope close to his chest. Koby, what are you doing? Alvida asked the boy, walking up to him with her club in hand. I'm not real good at this stuff, Koby whimpered. You're telling me maybe it's because you're too busy backtalking me all the time. Oh, no, not the club, anything but the club please, Koby cried out, cowering as Alvida stopped before him. Then get your ass in gear, Alvida shouted, kicking Koby on the rear and launching him onto the other ship. Koby's face slammed into a wall of upper deck, but before he could gather his senses, Alvida jumped at him. Getting moving, you brat. In an attempt to hit Koby, Alvida swung her mace, but hit the wall Koby had hit and fell through. Moments later. Alvida and her crew were on the lower level with the people of the ship surrounded. We won't take your lives, we swear, however, we will take everything else you have. And anyone who fights back will be eating their dinner off of the bottom of the ocean, Alvida said, walking to the front of the line. Downstairs, Koby had entered a small room which had the impression of a kitchen. Hello, is anyone in here? Koby asked, peeking into the doorframe. Phew, that's a relief, huh? Koby eyed the barrel in the corner of the room. Wow, that's one big barrel. I wonder what's inside of it, Koby exclaimed in awe. Koby grabbed the barrel and rolled it across the room, only to be stopped by 3 large men of the same crew. It's our favorite coward. Are you trying to hide in here and duck out on all of the action again, the rounder one asked. No way, I was just trying to haul this big barrel of beer over to you guys, Koby assured. Laughs. Why don't you let us lighten your load? I was just starting to get thirsty, the taller pirate stated. No way, Lady Alvida will kill us all if she found out, Koby screamed in fear of being hit by the club. Not if you keep your trap shut, the tattooed pirate said. Right, boy. Yeah, right, nervous laughter. The large man flipped the barrel right side up. Okay, this sucker's heavy. Ah, perfect. Hold on, boys. I'll open her the old-fashioned way. Cracking of knuckles. The man winded up his fist and threw it down. Suddenly, the lid popped off and smacked him in the face. Yeah. We're free. 2 people, a woman in with headphones and two-toned hair, and a boy with a straw hat and red vest sprung out. Surprised screams. I slept so great. So did I. The boy, Luffy, and the woman, Uda, spotted the pirate on the floor. Who's that, Luffy asked. I don't know. Looks like a pirate to me, Uda said, stretching her limbs. But damn, how long were we in that barrel? Luffy looked to his left and found the 2 other pirates. Who the hell are you guys? Who the hell are you, the 2 shouted in unison. Your friend will catch a cold sleeping like that, Luffy said. Why is he sleeping on the floor? Do you guys not have beds? Uda asked. You're the one who knocked him out. Swords were held to Luffy and Uda's throats. Hold up, are you messing with us when you know good and well that we're vicious pirates? Ha, Pirate C Tattoo asked. Luffy turned around to Koby. Do you have any food? I'm starving. Hey, I'm talking to you. Uda sighed and pushed the sword away. Don't mind him. We were in that barrel for so long, I lost count of days, she said. And with his appetite, I'm surprised he didn't die of hunger. The pirates ran past Uda and swung their swords at Luffy. Damn you, kid. Shattering of swords. The blades of the 2 were tossed into the ceiling and both pirates dropped to the floor, absolutely stunned. I'm in the lead, Luffy, Uda taunted, throwing up her hands in a clawing gesture. Hey, no fair, you never said we were doing a challenge, Luffy shouted. Well, we are and I'm already in the lead, Uda giggled. What's wrong with you 2, Luffy asked the 2 sitting pirates. Who the hell are you? My name's Monkey D. Luffy. Hi. And I'm red-haired Uda, nice to meet you, Uda greeting, waving hello. The pirates grabbed the unconscious man and ran out, screaming along the way. So what just happened, Koby asked Uda and Luffy. You got me. They were scared, idiot, Uda mumbled, speaking directly to Luffy. Hey, quick, you 2 gotta run. If those guys come back with their buddies, then they'll kill you on the spot, Koby gasped. I don't care about that, I'm hungry, Luffy said with a smile. I'm sure we can handle a few rookies if we can fight a sea beast, Uda chuckled, cracking her knuckles and neck. I can fight a sea beast. You were screaming like a baby, Luffy taunted, only to receive a sock to the shoulder. Ow, I'm sorry. How can you just blow something off like that? You're messing around, but you're in a lot of trouble. There are hundreds of them up on deck and they're waiting for the opportunity to kill anything, Koby warned. Luffy dragged Koby as he attempted to stop him, but it was no use since Luffy was twice his size. You're going the wrong way. Like he said, where can we get some food and maybe a shower because my hair is a mess, Uda whined. Uda's hair was all over the place and she had dirt all over her sweater and dress. Luffy and Uda walked into a dark room. And out of pure luck, there was a giant stash of food. Whoa ho, it's a gold mine, Luffy shouted. Oh, my gosh, fresh vegetables and fruits, Uda laughed after opening a crate. Apples. Luffy grabbed 2 apples and threw them into the air, catching them in his mouth. Uda grabbed several apples and stuffed them in her sweater before taking even more to eat. So yummy, Uda groaned, sitting on top of a barrel. Much better than raw sea beast meat. Hey, my name's Koby, by the way, Koby said, closing the door behind him. You're Luffy and you're Uda, right? That was pretty neat when you jumped out of that barrel back there. Koby sat down next to the 2. These are awesome. So are we on a pirate ship or what? Luffy asked, devouring each apple in a single bite. Luffy, slow down or you'll. Jokes on apple. Star. Joke. Uda kicked Luffy in the stomach, causing him to spit out the apple stuck in his throat. You're welcome, Dumbus. Thanks, Uda. You guys should hide, there are pirates raiding this ship, Koby warned, hearing footsteps in the distance. I don't care about that, I want to know if there are any ships on board, Luffy said. There might be a few. Great, because me and Uda's got sucked into a giant whirlpool, Luffy chuckled. That one outside, no way. Yeah, I gotta say it was a big surprise that we survived. Uda placed one hand on Koby and used her other to shove an apple in her face. Look, Koby Champa's pirates, we can't be afraid of some mere water. Honestly, it was more fun than scary, Uda said, looking over at Luffy. But Luffy was screaming like a little girl the entire time. Luffy threw an apple at her, which she caught. I wasn't screaming, you were. Nah. Yeah huh. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were. Luffy and Uda clashed heads, but was interrupted by Koby. Are you guys siblings? Koby asked. No, not siblings. We're childhood friends, Uda giggled. I watched this brat go from a whiny brat to a bigger whiny brat. Shut up, Luffy yelled at her. Uda stuck her tongue out at him before turning to Koby. Are you one of the pirates or passengers? She asked. Koby looked down and took a deep breath. It was on a fateful day, long ago that day, I stepped out onto a small fishing boat of my town to go catch my dinner. Turned out that boat was actually headed for a pirate ship that was 2 years ago, and in exchange for letting me live, I'm forced to live the life of a cabin boy. You're pretty stupid, you know that, Luffy said. Gee, thanks for your honesty. Bonk. We don't go around calling little kids stupid, have some respect at least, Uda hissed. Damn you, Uda. Anyway, if you don't like it here, then just leave, Luffy said to him. Are you kidding me? I can't do that. Nah, no way, not a chance. Just the thought of Alvida finding me scares me so bad, I wanna throw up, Koby shouted, shaking his head. It's a first, but I stand corrected, Uda mumbled. You're a moron and a coward, Luffy laughed in his face. I hate people like you. Koby's shoulders dropped. Yeah, you're right. If I had the courage, I could drift alone in a barrel and be rid of these pirates. I actually have my own dreams, Koby said. Uda's hair shot straight up. Someday, I'd like to live out all of them. So, what about you, Luffy? You too, Uda. What was it that got you to first sail on these seas? Koby asked, looking back and forth between the friends. Well, Koby, before I set out with Luffy, I was actually a pirate before, Uda replied, winking at Luffy. I grew up until the age of 9 living with my adoptive father, Shanks. YW huh? Uda and Luffy shared a laugh. I don't know my real parents. Not a single memory of them. I just remember waking up on Shanks' deck and grew up there. And apparently, I ate a devil fruit when I was a kid. The Uda know me, as they call it. Well, isn't that funny? Koby nervously laughed, still processing the fact that he's in a room with the Shanks' daughter. I decided that I'd join Luffy's crew and stay with him, rather than going to the Grand Line before my 10th birthday. Wow, and you, Luffy? Koby asked, turning to face him. I didn't care for being a pirate until Shanks came along. He showed and taught me a lot of things about the real world. So one day, I decided that I'd become the king of the pirates and surpass Shanks, Luffy told him. And because Uda was kinda begging me to become a pirate with her. Uda looked away in embarrassment, returning to munching on apples. Shishishi. Koby's jaw dropped to the floor. The king? Yep. You're serious? Yeah. But that would mean you're a pirate, too. You're just now getting that, Luffy and Uda shouted in unison, striking the top of Koby's head. Ow. After recovering, Koby stood up. But that would you need everything this world has to offer: wealth, fame, power. The treasure that you seek is the One Piece, Koby shouted. Yep. Yeah, that's it, pirates from all over the world are looking for that treasure, you know. Yeah. So, Luffy said, looking over at Uda, annoyed. No way, impossible, there's no way someone like you could reach the pinnacle of the pirates in this era. Uda rolled her eyes, hopped off of the barrel, and smacked some sense into Koby. Ow, why did you hit me? Koby whined. Cause I felt like it, Uda growled. Oh, well. I'm used to this kind of stuff. My shipmates smack me around a lot. All the time, in fact. I can relate, Luffy mumbled, giving Uda a mean glance. It's not about whether I can. I'm doing it because I want to. I decided long ago that I wanted to be king of the pirates. And if I'm going to die fighting for that, then I die. You're not dying on my watch, Uda chuckled. I don't think Ace will let you either. Shishishi, yeah, anyway, now that my belly is full, I'm going to get myself a brand new ship. You're full, am I dreaming? Uda teased him, walking along just Luffy. If I put my mind to something like that, do you think I can do something like that? Koby asked the two. Like what? Luffy asked back. Do you think I could ever join the Marines? Marines? Yes, catching bad guys is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, Koby exclaimed. It's been my dream since I was a child. Do you think I can do it? How should I know that? Luffy said. Then I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna be stuck here as a cabin boy for the rest of my life. I'll break out, then turn around and catch Alvida myself. Boom. Crack. The ceiling above the three suddenly caved in. Luffy and Uda stepped back, unbothered to see if Koby is okay. Who is that you plan on catching? Koby, a woman asked, hidden by the dust. And you actually think this twig and ugly wannabe is gonna help you? Well, answer me. Ugly wannabe? Oh, hell no. Who the hell are you calling ugly? Uda growled. The very large woman had a club, pirate hat, cloak, and a striped shirt underneath. Pretty plain and boring if you were to ask Uda. So you're not pirate hunter Rorono's Oro, Alvida scoffed. Koby. Whimpers. "Who is the most beautiful of all on these seas?" Alvida asked, gripping her mace tightly. "Well, just give me a second, I should know this," Koby said, shivering with his tail between his legs. "Hey Koby. Who's this fat lady?" Luffy asked, pointing at Alvida. The ship went dead silent. "You runt," Alvida screeched, swinging her mace at Luffy. Luffy jumped out of the way and landed in front of Koby. "Let's go." Uda accidentally coated her right leg in armament hockey. "You bitch," Uda snapped at her. "First, you call me ugly, and then you have the audacity to try to hit Luffy, I'll make you page ass kick." Uda slammed the heel of her foot into Alvida's face. Upon impact, a loud saxophone noise echoed throughout the room, followed by a shockwave that ripped up the space. Alvida crashed through the wall and yelled in pain, disappearing from sight. Uda grabbed onto Luffy, and all three of them launched out of the hole in the roof, meeting several pirates. "Whoever takes out the least amount of pirates has to make dinner," Uda shouted, springing off of the ground and dropkicking a pirate in the face. "You're on," Luffy shouted back, dodging a swing of a sword and kicking the pirate. Two pirates ran up to Luffy and tried to cut him, but Luffy ducked under their swords and punched them in the stomachs. "Conductor's cross," Uda yelled. Luffy looked over at Uda. A long golden spear with a cone tip formed in her right hand. She then swiped her spear in an X pattern, and a large air slash cut through nearly half of the pirates on deck. "Watch eater," Luffy screamed, pulling back his arms. "I won't lose to Y." Suddenly, a pirate dropped down on top of Luffy, but he dodged the attack, which pierced the deck and grabbed the man by his head. "Hey, it's not fair to attack from behind." Luffy threw the pirate into four more pirates. "Let me take those guys off your hands for you," Uda said, running up to the fallen pirates. "Oh, thanks. Hey, wait, no." Uda kicked the pirates through the railing into the sea, laughing as she was now in the lead. "Damn you," Luffy shouted angrily, but was quickly cut off by a large mob of pirates that charged Luffy. Uda laughed her ass off as Luffy was jazzed around the deck, hearing his screams. "It's even more not fair to gang up on one guy," Luffy screamed, grabbing onto the mast. "Huh." Luffy ran as far as he could until it looks like he was running in place. The pirate stopped, looked at his arm, then at him. "What the hell?" they all screamed. "Gotcha," Luffy snickered. "Gum gum rocket." Luffy snapped back, smashing into the group and knocking them out like bowling pins. Uda growled, annoyed that they were now tied. "Damn. I got too cocky," she mumbled, staring at Luffy, who was looking at Koby. "What are you two? You guys are not humans," Koby asked curiously. "I'm a rubber man," Luffy said, grabbing his cheek and stretching it outward. "So you're made of rubber, Iwa." Koby, having sensed Alvida behind him, crawled behind Luffy. "So you've eaten of the devil fruits," Alvida grumbled. "Yeah, I ate the gum gum one," Luffy said to her, letting his cheek snap into place. "Aha, I heard rumors that they existed, but I've never seen any evidence of one until today. You're more skilled than the average deck swabber." "Are you a bounty hunter?" Alvida asked Luffy. "I'm a pirate," Luffy answered with a smile. "Ha, all by yourself on these waters?" "I'm not alone. I have Uda on my crew, but I don't know where she went." "She's here somewhere," Luffy said, scratching his head. "But one day, I'll have more people on my crew. I need I don't know 10 guys." "Ha, tell me, if we're both pirates and we're not under the same flag, then that will make us enemies. Am I right?" Alvida asked. Koby tugged on Luffy's arm. "Luffy, let's go," he whispered, worried for the sake of their lives. "But why?" "You saw how powerful her club is, and of all of the villainous cheats in these waters, she's easily the most." Koby suddenly froze. "Go on. Tell me," Alvida sneered at the boy. "You're the most ugliest thing on the sea," Koby yelled, letting his true emotions free. "Uda is a billion, no, trillion times prettier than you." Everyone except Luffy's jaw dropped, and Luffy actually began to laugh uncontrollably. "What did you say?" Alvida roared. "I'm leaving and I'm going to join the Marines, then I'm gonna spend the rest of my life beating up dirty pirates like you," Koby shouted, now more confident. "Do you have any idea what you're saying to me right now?" Alvida growled, squeezing the handle of her club. "Of course I do, and I'm gonna do whatever I want and no one's going to stop me, and when I join the Marines, I'm gonna join them and I'm gonna catch your lousy ass first." "You're dead, kid," Alvida yelled, raising her club. No regrets, Koby shouted out loud, cowering with his hands over his head. "I said what I wanted and I fought for my dream." "Well said," Luffy chuckled, stepping between him and Alvida. Clang. The floor beneath Luffy cracked as Alvida slammed her mace on the top of his head. "Heh. That won't work," Luffy laughed tauntingly. "What? I'm rubber." Luffy pushed Alvida back and threw his arm backward, stretching farther and farther over the sea. Gum. Treble clef. The large music note smashed into Alvida, knocking her far out into sea, out of sight. "Wah, Uda." Uda jumped in front of Luffy and stuck her tongue out. "I win," she giggled, throwing her hands up in victory. "Damn it, I can still tie you," Luffy growled, releasing his fist. Gum pistol. Uda blinked. Uda blinked twice. Hey. Uda leaped to the right, just barely dodging Luffy's fist, which slammed into the mast, breaking it in half. Are you trying to kill me? Uda screamed, tears running down her face as she laid on the deck. You stole my pirate. That's a terrible excuse. Luffy and Uda locked eyes and then began laughing. I still won, Uda snickered. Luffy folded his arms and sat down. That's because you cheated, cheater. Uda popped up in front of Luffy and threw out her hands. Don't be such a sore loser, Luffy, she happily taunted, doing her victory gesture. 3 pirates on Alvida's ship tried to hide, but Uda called them out. Hey, you 3, go get Koby's ship, he's going to go join the Marines, Uda ordered, pointing her spear at them. Or else. Yeah, right away, they shouted, disappearing below deck. Thanks, you guys, Koby said, bowing before them. Oh, yeah. Did you hear what Koby said about you? Luffy said, smiling. Uda raised her eyebrow. What did he say? I was busy trying to find some more food below deck, Uda asked, eyeing Koby, who was red in the face and hiding. He said that you were a trillion times prettier than Alvida. Uda's blushed lightly, but laughed, only further embarrassing Koby. I know I am. I just wonder how long it'll take you to notice that, she said, grabbing Luffy by the shirt and pulling him to his feet. What does that supposed to mean? Luffy asked with a confused face. Oh, don't worry about it, you'll understand when you're older, hopefully, she sighed. Why won't you just tell me? It's not like you're 30 years older and you know everything in the world, Luffy angrily said. I know more than you do, plus, it's too complicated to explain. You'll learn someday, Uda said, shrugging her shoulders. Boom. 3 cannonballs suddenly plunged into the waters near the ship, rocking it harshly. Look, it's the Marines, Uda shouted, pointing to the east. Perfect timing, head over there and tell 'em you want to join, Luffy encouraged. Huh. But we're pirates, so we're outta here, Luffy shouted as him and Uda jumped over the railing. No, wait, you can't be serious. If I approach them like that, they'll capture me like I'm another pirate, Koby whined. In desperation, Koby jumped over the railing as well, landing in a small boat below. Next to them was another person in a boat, a woman around Uda's height with short orange hair and banana around her forehead. Luffy and her locked eyes before their ship bounced off of the water, away from the Marines. Eventually, Luffy, Uda and Koby get away from the Marines and row out to sea, finally having some peace. Ah, what fun, Luffy laughed, laying back against the bow. Luffy, did you see that woman on that boat back there? I thought I saw her earlier when I was looking for more food, Uda huffed, zipping up her sweater about halfway. Oh, yeah. I did. Don't care, though, Luffy shrugged. So, Luffy, Koby said, grabbing both of their attention. If you're searching for the elusive One Piece, then that means you have to be headed for the Grand Line, right? From the people that I've heard from, that place is called the Pirate Graveyard. Right. And that's WHH. I need an extra strong crew. That I will put together, Uda finished. I don't want just a bunch of men on our crew who serve no purpose, we need things like a cook and a navigator and a doctor. Luffy rolled his eyes, but she was correct. I was gonna make sure we had those, too. Liar. Uda sighed and sat down next to Luffy. You guys mentioned some pirate hunters, so what's he like? Luffy asked Koby. Oh, you mean Zoro? Last I heard is that he's being held prisoner at some marine base. Oh, well, a weakling, Luffy sighed, disappointed. No, you're so wrong, Koby shouted, running up to him. He's as violent as a demon and 3 times as horrifying. Why are you asking about him, anyway? I figured if he's good enough, I'd ask him to join my crew, Luffy giggled with a smile. And this is why I'm putting together the crew, Uda growled, pulling on Luffy's cheek. Tazzing him down is just plain reckless. You never know, he might jump at the chance to join me. He's a bad enough guy that the Marines caught him. No way, not a chance, forget it, no. Bonk. Ow, would you hit me? Koby whined, wincing in pain. Because I felt like it, Luffy answered after having just smacked Koby. Ah, Luffy, Uda sighed, shaking her head gently. Luffy jumped on the bow, nearly making the boat flip. Ah, Luffy. Let's go recruit this Zoro guy, Luffy shouted. Did you not just hear me? We're not recruiting a pirate hunter to be a pirate. Shishishi. We're here, the Marine Bay City, Luffy shouted, finally stepping onto solid ground. I suggest we stay together, Luffy, Uda said sternly, grabbing the boy by the collar of his shirt. Luffy, Uda and Koby began wander down the streets toward the huge base at the top of the hill. Uda had to walk right next to Luffy for comfort since a lot of the men kept staring at her and talking behind their backs. Luffy, you're seriously out of your mind if you think the right thing to do is to get this guy to join you, Koby warned. Well, I haven't made up my mind yet. I gotta see if this guy is a good fit for the crew, Luffy replied. What happened to me making the crew? Uda sighed, defeated. You can get all of the ones we need and I'll get the strong ones, okay, Luffy offered. DCH. Fine. He's imprisoned because he's obviously not a good guy, Koby shouted. Luffy picked up a pear from a shop and took a bite. MMM. Luffy tossed a coin to the lady displaying the pears and smiled. Hey, gimme one, too, Uda whispered, handing Luffy a coin. Luffy tossed the woman another coin, and Uda took a pear. Hey, is that guy Zoro around here somewhere? Luffy asked the woman. The people around the three jumped back and screamed. Koby leaned into the two and spoke. Maybe we shouldn't mention the name Zoro here, okay? Yeah, Luffy, Uda giggled, sticking her tongue out. Let's head to the base and check it out, Luffy demanded, beginning the walk again. You wanna be a marine, right? Well, of course I do, Luffy, but I really don't think I'm ready just yet. From what I've heard, the man in charge of this base name is Captain Morgan. Once again, the people jumped back. Luffy laughed and Uda pulled down her hood, revealing her smile. This town is so weird, Luffy said. That's odd. I'd get they'd jump at the mention of Zoro, but why did they flip when I mentioned the marine captain's name? Koby asked, confused. Well, Koby, not all marines in this world are good. If I had to take a guess, the marine captain of this base is either a little off his thought or he's a corrupt marine, Uda calmly explained. Based off of Shanks' stories, that is the most likely reason why the people here fear his name. Really, I don't know, but I don't have a good feeling about this, Koby mumbled. Uda stopped and put her left foot off to the left, which accidentally tripped Luffy and Koby. Sorry, Uda snickered. Would you trip me? Ow. Luffy stood up and grabbed Uda by the ribbon, making her blush a little. We're here, she yelled in his face, spinning his head around. And it was an accident. You ran into my foot. In front of the three was a giant steel gate with the word, Marine, on the front. I made a Koby gasped, but started to cry. This is where you and I part ways, Luffy and Uda. We didn't have long together, but. Where's the foothold? Just climb over. What do you think I'm trying to do? Luffy was attempting to climb the wall while Uda was already on top of it, holding a hand out to him. What are you doing? Get down from there, they'll see you, Koby cried out. Luffy finally pulled himself up and looked over the other side. Now where's this demon, he said, scanning the area. They wouldn't keep him out in the open. He's probably tucked in a prison cell underground. There he is, I'm gonna get closer. He looks awfully skinny for a pirate hunter. Luffy and Uda jump off of the wall and ran to the left and climbed there. Koby, look, Luffy shouted. Koby walked over and climbed on the box next to Luffy and Uda. I'm telling you, he's not a Koby was cut off by the sight. Over the wall was a man tied up against a wood structure. The area was flat and dusty, and chain fencing is what bordered the surrounding. That hood on his head and that haramaki, that Rurano Zoro, Koby screamed to himself. If we can untie those ropes, he can just walk away, Luffy said, pointing to the man. Sounds good to me, Uda shrugged. Oh, don't be such idiots, Koby shouted at them. There's no telling what a bandit like him will do to us if we free him, he might just kill all three of us. Don't worry. I'm strong, I can protect us, Luffy assured with a smile. I can fend for myself, thank you, Uda scoffed. Barely. Excuse me. Hey, you three. The two stopped their bickering and turned to the tied-up man as Koby hid behind the wall. At last. You're an eyesore, he demanded. Before Koby could scream again, Uda socked him in the nose. Then, a little girl placed a ladder next to them and shushed the three before jumping into the yard. The little girl ran up to Zoro, holding something in her arms. What do you want? Zoro asked, but the girl didn't fear him. I thought you might be getting hungry now, so I made you a couple of rice balls, she said, opening a brown sack. You get a death wish, kid, just scram. But you haven't eaten anything the whole time you've been tied up here, the girl said, holding out 2 rice balls. I've never really made them before, but I did my best, so I think they're fine. The man eyed the food, but resisted. Listen, kid, I'm not hungry now, stop irritating me and get out of here before that bastard comes back. But. Do not make me kick your ass, little girl. Now. No one likes a bully. Everyone looked to the east gate. There was a short blonde boy with a very punchable face, accompanied by 2 taller men in marine uniforms. Urano Zoro, you seem to be handling this well. Don't you agree? The blonde asked. Uda doesn't even know his name, and she already hates him. If he's next to those marines, maybe he's with them, Luffy said. Why are we waiting? We can kick their asses and be on with our day, Luffy, Uda grumbled, a little upset that she's spectating. He must be here to save the little girl, Koby gasped, relieved. Just wait. I wanna see what happens. The blonde bent down to the girl's level and gave her a smug grin. Look, some tasty rice balls, the boy exclaimed, grabbing a rice ball and eating it. Hey, that's not for you, the girl shouted at him. The boy's face suddenly filled with disgust. Ah, too sweet, they're packed with sugar, you're supposed to use salt, you idiot, salt, the boy yelled at her, spitting out the remaining rice in his mouth. But I thought they'd taste better sweet. That. The blonde boy took the rice ball, threw it on the ground and smashed his foot into it repeatedly. No, stop, the girl cried out. I worked so hard. Luffy had to hold Uda by the waist to keep her from jumping over, also having to cover her mouth. That's just awful, Koby gasped, feeling bad for the girl. But I worked so hard to make those. Too bad you must not have read the notice that was posted. Those who assist criminals in any way shall be executed, signed Marine Captain Morgan. The girl visibly stiffened as she cried. It seems even little brats fear my daddy, the boy laughed, holding the notice in her face. His dad, Luffy gasped, struggling to keep Uda down. Stop moving. Let me go, Uda growled, biting down on Luffy's right hand. Ow. You, toss this kid over that wall right now, the boy ordered to the Marine on his left. The Marine hesitated and immediately was grabbed by the collar. I said, throw her over the wall, soldier, now, if you won't follow my orders, I'll tell my father. Why yes, Helmeppo, sir, I'll do it, the Marine squeaked, nodding his head. The Marine slowly walked over to the girl after being set down by Helmeppo. So Helmeppo is his name, Uda thought, resting her elbows over the wall. The Marine crouched next to the girl before grabbing her arms. Sorry about this. Try curling up into a ball. It should soften the landing, he said, and then threw her over. Luffy stretched his arm out at the screaming girl and caught her. He then set her on the ground next to Luffy and Uda. Thanks, mister, the girl honored. Hey, are you okay, Koby asked, running up to the girl. How could one guy be so cruel, Luffy? Koby turned around. Well, where did he go? Luffy fell over the wall, Uda said, jumping over. Zoro looked up to see Luffy and Uda standing in front of him. So, I hear you're a bad guy, Luffy began. You're still here, Zoro grumbled. You're stuck out here for all of the world to see and nothing. Are you really all that strong, Luffy asked, walking closer to Zoro. Mind your own business. If I were you, I'd probably starve to death in 3 days. The FT, you can barely go 6 hours, Uda scoffed, rolling her eyes. I've got more spirit than you could ever have, which is how I'm going to survive this ordeal. This I swear, Zoro said with a confident grin. Ha, what a weirdo, Luffy said before turning around. Wait, hold on, could you pick that up for me? Uda looked down to the ground where the squished rice bowl was. You want to eat this, she asked, slightly disgusted. I have an apple right here. Yeah, it's mostly a ball of mud. Shut up and give it to me now, Zoro demanded. Luffy scooped up the remains of the rice ball and tossed it into Zoro's open mouth. Coughs. Should have listened to me, Luffy snickered. It was good, Zoro lied. Thanks for the food. Luffy returned to Koby and the girl, whose name turned out to be Rika, while Uda cut up her apple and fed it to Zoro. Why didn't you just beat the bastard, Uda asked, tossing another apple slice into the starving man's mouth. Swallows. He had threatened to execute the girl and her mother, Zoro explained. Why are you two helping me? Uda leaned against her giant spear and let out a sigh. Luffy and I are pirates who have just set out to sea 2 days ago, Uda said with a shallow smile. Our boat got sucked into a giant whirlpool, and we ended up on some ship which was being raided by a fat woman with a club. Alvida. Could have been her name, but I messed her up real bad, so it doesn't matter now, Uda laughed, remembering when she had smacked the woman off the boat. Anyway, Koby begged us to take him, so we did. And here we are, looking for new crew members. And what does all of this have to do with me, Zoro asked the girl. You seem strong, are you not, Uda asked back. Well, my goal one day is to become the strongest swordsman in the world, Zoro said, surprising Uda. Good luck with that, there's my father, my uncle Mihik, who am I missing, Uda questioned herself, tapping her chin. You're acting like your father is an emperor of the sea, Zoro scowled. Uda grinned smugly. Shanks is my adoptive father, and Rayleigh is my uncle, Uda said, making Zoro lose it. What I call bullshit, Zoro yelled. I'm not kidding, and Luffy's grandfather is the marine hero Garp. It took a moment for Zoro to put together the puzzle. Monkey D. Luffy, Monkey D. Garp, Monkey D. Red Hair Shanks, Uda, Red Hair Uda. Since when the hell did Red Hair Shanks have a daughter, Zoro yelled, absolutely baffled. Shhhh, shut up. Bonk. Uda karate chopped the top of Zoro's head and shushed him harshly. Quiet, remember, we're in a marine base, Uda growled angrily. Luffy, Rika and Koby entered the bar where it all started. Helmeppo, who was accompanied by his 2 marine bodyguards, was being very rude to the bartender, who served him wine and juice. I suppose I can execute Zoro, ha 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 ha, he shouted, sipping his drink. Luffy ran up to Helmeppo and slammed his right fist into his face, smashing him against the wall. His punch nearly knocked the boy out. Helmeppo covered his bloody nose and spun around as the soldiers checked on him. You just hit me, he cried out in pain. Luffy was about to punch him again, but Koby grabbed onto the back of his shoulders. Luffy, no, you can't hit him. This guy is scum, Luffy shouted. You actually hit me, I am Captain Morgan's son, you know, Helmeppo yelled furiously. Yeah, like I care. You'll care after he executes you for this. Why don't you just be a man and fight, Luffy yelled. Luffy, just ease off some, Koby said. Why are you trying to get on the Marines' bad side? I've made up my mind. Asps. Today, Zoro joins my crew. Luffy ran out of the bar and to the yard, climbing over the wall and scaring Uda. Luffy. You again. I'll untie you only if you promise to join our crew, Luffy said, standing next to Uda. No way, I'd never stoop to joining a criminal, Zoro responded rudely. Screw that business. What's wrong with being a pirate, Luffy asked. They're despicable. Like I'd ever join up with one. Oh, come on, everyone already knows you as some vicious bounty hunter always out for blood. People can't say whatever they want about me, but I've done nothing in my life that I've regret, Zoro said. I'll make it throughout this challenge. And then after that, I'll accomplish what I want. Yeah, that's great. But I've already decided that you're gonna be on my crew. What, you can't do that? I hear you're one of the best swordsmen around. Well, I am, but that idiot captain's son took mine away. I'll have to just get them back for you. What? So if you want your sword, you're going to have to join my crew. Uda huffed angrily. Luffy, you can't force someone to join our crew, she growled, grabbing his nose, stretching it, and letting it snap back into place. Ow. If Zoro wants to wait out the time, then he can. The idiot blonde guy said he'd just execute Zoro anyway, so why not let him free now? Deal what, Uda and Zoro shouted at the same time. Luffy darted toward the entrance of the marine base. First one to find his swords wins, he shouted, taking off. Uda threw a music note at him, which wrapped around his feet and tripped him, allowing Uda to take a huge lead. Hey cheater, Luffy shouted, squirming free and running after Uda. Uda reached the door first, but it was locked. Hey, where is everyone, Uda asked Luffy as he caught up to her. The door's locked. What's going on up there, Luffy asked, pointing to the top of the marine base. There was a giant stone figure with ropes tied around it. Loud shouting echoed down. Wanna go check it out? Hey. Why not, Uda giggled, grabbing onto Luffy's back. Luffy stretched his arm until he grabbed the ledge of the roof. Hold on tight, Gum Gum rocket. Luffy shot up into the air with Uda on his back, screaming with delight. Both caught a glimpse of a group of Marines before continuing to soar upward. Crap, I jumped too far. You idiot, Uda yelled. What is that thing? It flew up from the ground. Luffy grabbed onto one of the ropes, pulling the rope out of the Marine's hands. Luffy shot back down onto the roof, landing on his feet as the statue snapped in half and fell over the edge. Uda grumbled something, but it was muffled by the screaming of the Marines. Sorry about that, Luffy apologized. It was his idea, I'm innocent, Uda shouted, pointing at Luffy. Hey. Seize him and hold him, so I can kill him myself, the taller dark man with blonde hair roared. The man had an axe for a hand and a weird jaw structure, but the cape on his back is what gave away the fact he was the captain. So right away all of the Marines saluted. That's him, that's the guy who punched me, Daddy, Helmeppo screamed. Luffy put a hand on Helmeppo's shoulder and smiled. Hey, it's you have something that I really need to get back, he said, running into a dark stairway. Let me go. Helmeppo. Someone help me. The captain ordered for the Marines to save Helmeppo, leaving Uda on the roof. Captain Morgan, there's someone in the crucifixion yard, a Marine called out. Captain Morgan looked over the wall and snarled. Koby was in the field. I'm surrounded by traitors. Uda jumped off of the building quietly and ran toward the entrance, kicking down the door. The hallways were clear and she could hear Helmeppo's screams in the distance. TCH Luffy, you bastard, Uda growled to herself. Now I have to find the room by myself, I refuse to lose to you. Luffy accidentally smacked Helmeppo's head into a doorknob but continued to run. Okay, so tell me where Zoro's sword is, Luffy demanded, dragging Helmeppo along the carpet. I'll tell you, I promise, just please stop dragging me across the carpet. Luffy planted his feet into the floor and let Helmeppo's back drop to the ground. Fine. Which way? In my room. We just passed it, behind you on the left. Why didn't you say so earlier, Luffy sighed, annoyed. Now we gotta go all the way back. Don't move except for letting Helmeppo go, a man in a group of 3 Marines ordered, pointing rifles at Luffy. No way. Luffy propped Helmeppo up like a shield and turned to the Marines. But you can try shooting me if you want. No, please don't shoot, don't, I'll get out of the way, Helmeppo cried out as Luffy ran past. Koby began untying the ropes holding Zoro up. Look, kid. You gotta get out of here before any of those Marines get back here, Zoro told him. Luffy and Uda will keep the Marines distracted long enough. We need to get you out though. Remember what Luffy said, well, it's true. Helmeppo really did intend to kill you from the start. I heard him say it all, Koby said. Those 2 are the only ones who can actually save you from execution. Without your help, they might end up suffering a similar fate. End of the line, Captain Morgan shouted at Koby. For the crime of treason against me, I sentence both of you to die where you stand. Meanwhile, Luffy entered a very luxurious room. "This one looks like yours," Luffy said, still holding Helmeppo. "Bingo, but wait, there's three, hey, bozo. Which one of these?" Luffy looked down to see Helmeppo unconscious. He passed out. "Oh, well, I'll take all of them," Luffy shouted, grabbing all of the swords and taking grasp of the open window. Gum gum. Music punch. What the? Bam. Uda slammed her fist into Luffy's face, causing him to lose his grip and fall backward onto the hard floor. She then took all of the swords and stuck her tongue out. "Thanks for the swords, idiot," she teased before backflipping out of the base. "Uda, damn it," Luffy yelled, jumping out headfirst. Zoro closed his eyes and prepared for the worst when suddenly, two figures jumped in front of them. Fire. What? Luffy, Uda knew. The bullets shot at Luffy bounced back, somehow missing every marine. The bullets shot at Uda were caught on a giant music staff that surrounded her body like a defense system. "That won't work on us," they laughed in unison. "Who the hell are you?" Zoro yelled in shock. The music staff wrapped around the marines, sticking them to it. Four smooth neon green ropes sprouted from the ground and latched onto Morgan's limbs, restricting all movement. "My name's Monkey D. Luffy and I'm going to be king of the pirates," Luffy answered Zoro. "And I'm Red Hair Uda, I'm going to be the world's strongest diva," Uda giggled, sticking her tongue out. "You lost again, Luffy. You cheated twice." "Oh, is someone being a sore loser?" Uda taunted with her hands up in a claw-like gesture. "Shut up," Luffy yelled. Uda laughed and handed the swords to Koby. "Hold these for a second." Uda summoned two music notes, which transformed into her giant spear. "Hold still," she shouted, pulling her spear back. "What are you doing?" "Uda, no." "Hiya." Uda thrust her spear into the bottom of the cross. A moment later, the wood shattered apart with a bright flash, freeing Zoro. "I grabbed all of the swords because I didn't know which one was yours," Uda said, only angering Luffy more. "All of them are mine. I use Santoryu, the three-sword style," Zoro replied. Uda's eyes sparkled in awe. "Santoryu, I always dreamed of meeting someone who could use that," she exclaimed. Zoro finally broke a smile and grabbed his swords, stretching his limbs. "Taking those swords means you're a government-defying criminal," Luffy reminded him. "So it's either that or we leave you here to be killed by the marines. What are you, the son and daughter of the devil? It doesn't matter. Cause if I don't choose your side, I'll end up dead in this field. So let's do it." "Yes, we have another crewmate," Luffy celebrated, jumping up and down. Uda shook her and smiled. "Don't mind Luffy. Now, how about you go get some payback on those marines I rounded up for you?" Uda giggled. "If I kill a marine, that makes me a criminal. So I'll become a pirate. That, I can promise you," Zoro said. "But hear this. While I'm with you, I am fully dedicated to fulfilling my ambition. Which is? To be nothing less than the world's greatest swordsman. If somewhere along the way, I have to give up, then I want you to accept responsibility." "Okay," Luffy agreed. "Not you, the woman." "Why her?" Uda held up her right hand at Luffy, showing him an L figure with her fingers. "Because she's clearly the smarter one of you two," Zoro snickered. "Wah." Uda dropped all of the marines, which came rushing forward. "Finally some action," Luffy excitedly yelled. "Oh, no. I was just giving them the chance to be free. The man with the axe is the one we're after," Uda explained, watching as the marine soldiers ran out of the yard in fear. "How lame," Zoro laughed at them. Gum pistol." Luffy ran up and punched Morgan's axe, sending a shockwave throughout his body. "Ow." "You runt," Morgan yelled, striking his axe at Luffy, who dodged, making the ground split in half upon impact. Gum spear." Luffy clamped his sandals together and smashed his feet into Morgan's face, knocking him to the ground. "Captain Morgan is getting pummeled out there," a marine gasped. "It's embarrassing," said another. Luffy stepped on Morgan's chest and began punching him in the face repeatedly. "You call yourself a marine, but you destroyed my friend Koby's dream." "Straw Hat, stop right there, look at what I got," Helmeppo shouted at him, but Luffy paid no attention. "Are you stupid or something?" I said. "Stop if you pay attention to me, I have a hostage here that you might want to look at." "Hey," Zoro called out to Luffy. If you value your friend's life, you won't move a muscle," Helmeppo warned, holding a gun to Koby's head. "And if you value yours, you'll put the gun down," Uda whispered in his ear, holding her spear to his throat. "I am Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan, you will d." Morgan froze in place, and his eyes rolled to the back of his head before he could hit Luffy. "Thank you," Luffy said to Zoro, who had cut right through Morgan. "I'm just doing my job, Captain." "Oh, we're killing them?" Uda asked. "Okay. Wait, please." Slit's throat. Thud. Uda grabbed the body and threw it over the fence before turning to Luffy and smiling. "Captain Morgan has been defeated. Helmeppo is dead. Unbelievable, these guys are unreal. That pretty woman is strong." Zoro put his swords back in their scabbards and turned to the marines. "If there's anyone who wants to fight us, do it now." The Marines took their hats and swords and guns and tossed them into the air. We're free. Finally. Morgan's reign is over. It's actually happening. Uda poked Luffy with the back of her spear and smiled. Since I won, I get to punish you. Not right now, Luffy whined, pushing Uda off of him. Haha. You cheated anyway. Cry about it. Shut up. Zoro fell onto his back, pausing their bickering. Hi. Zoro, are you okay? Koby asked, worried. Yeah, just hungry. I could eat something as well, Koby stated. I'm starving, all of that running around really wore me out, Luffy said. Ah well, if you owe me a favor, you're paying for everyone, Uda teased him. But no way. Yes way. You're really pissing me off today. You're just being a baby. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Shut up, Zoro yelled at them. Stop bickering and let's go get something to eat already. Sorry. Well, I'm stuffed having not eaten for 3 weeks, I was ready to gnaw Theo my bootstraps, Zoro exhaled with a satisfied smile. Group laughs. I can't believe you're finished. Lightweight, Luffy scoffed, removing his fork from his mouth. How the hell can you have a bigger appetite than a guy who hasn't eaten in weeks, Zoro questioned Luffy, who was still chowing down. It just tastes too good, I guess. Right, Koby. Koby snapped out of it and turned to the bartender. Yeah, it's great, thanks for fixing that for us. My pleasure, the woman said. After all, you guys did save the town. And you, princess. Uda stopped eating and looked up at Zoro. Huh. You've been eating for hours and you don't even seem the least bit bloated. What the hell is up with you two, Zoro asked Uda, even more confused. I don't know, I don't gain weight when I eat, Uda said, proceeding by popping a fork of pie in her mouth. Probably easier just not to question it. Whatever. You're the most amazing man I ever met, Rika exclaimed to Luffy. Yeah, I know, and it'll be even more amazing when I become king of the pirates and I have the One Piece, Luffy said, turning to Uda and Zoro. Oh, and the best crew of the seas. So how many others have you gathered for you crew besides me, Zoro asked Luffy. You told me you were in the middle of gathering together the crew for your ship. And if you're gonna be king of the pirates, I gotta assume you already have some eating in the wings, Zoro said. Luffy shook his head. Nope, just you and Uda. Why just? Uda handed the bartender her dish and then sat next to Luffy. Yep. It's just us, Luffy repeated. Then at least tell me you guys have a ship. It's that small dinghy over there. We're in the making of getting a new one, Uda sighed, too, disappointed. I think Luffy was born without that part of the brain that allows the rest of us to plan out what we have to do, Koby remarked, elevating a mean laugh from Uda. I can't believe I let myself get suckered for having him as my captain, Zoro grumbled quietly. Hey, we'll have a ton more crew members in no time, Luffy assured. Uda, where do you plan with your crew when you head on out of here, Rika asked, tugging on her skirt gently. You mean it's not obvious, Luffy shouted. We're headed straight for the Grand Line. Koby spit out his orange juice, but before he could scream, Uda flicked his forehead hard enough to silence him. Listen, we're not stupid enough to enter the Grand Line without at least 4 or 5 members, mainly being a navigator or a chef. I take role as everything for the meantime, but come on, you're really underestimating the children of the most wanted people in the world, that much, Uda said to the entire bar. We will conquer the Grand Line with no more than 11 crew members. We will explore the new world and take down any pirates or marines that stand in our way. It's honestly sad that you think that low of us, especially you, Koby. Luffy and I are both conquerors with devil fruits. Our entire crew will at least know how to use armament and observation hockey. Uda leaned back in her chair and let out a deep sigh. So relax. If you're going to be a marine, Koby, then your job is to catch pirates. But when the day finally comes, do you really think you can take on us, the Straw Hat Pirates, Uda asked him. I don't know. The answer is no. It won't matter if we're friends here in the East Blue, but in the Grand Line, everyone is your enemy, and I already know that. What Luffy doesn't plan for, I do. I think of everything. And all those stories you heard about people entering the Grand Line and never returning are in fact real, but because no one was prepared for what's there. Sure, there's sea kings and storms that will break your ship in seconds, but the main thing is the Marines. They're much stronger in the Grand Line because that's where Marine HQ is, as well as Enies Lobby. Buster calls, fleets of warships, admirals, hell even the fleet admiral occasionally. You won't find them out here. The new world is the Grand Line but twice the danger. There, emperors of the seas like my dad, Kaido, Big Mom, and Whitebeard reside. I've heard stories passed down, but it seems you know a lot about the Grand Line, considering you haven't been there. I was raised there on the Red Force. I've got tons of travel logs from Shanks, Rayleigh, and even one from the Pirate King himself. I can confirm Laugh-Tale is real, but I can't prove that the One Piece is, Uda admitted. You're just now telling me, Luffy roared. I'm not gonna give them to you, not in a million years could I trust you with such treasures, Uda yelled back. you'll never get them anyway. They're kept in Uda world. No one had realized that Koby fainted. If it really is all true, why do you want to put yourselves through such hell, the bartender asked. To create my new genesis. I want to sing and bring happiness to everyone, a world of adventure and fun. Violence and piracy is inevitable, but I still want to be the world's strongest diva that can rival the Pirate King, Uda giggled, glancing over at Luffy with a smirk. But I wouldn't mind being the queen of the pirates either. You guys have some crazy ass dreams, but hey, I can't really be talking, can I? Zoro sighed. If I'm going to be the world's strongest swordsman, I'd want to be on none other than the king's crew. I'd beat you any day, Uda snickered. Are you challenging me? Am I? You can't go, Koby shouted, grabbing everyone's attention. What do you care? You're not going with us, are you? Zoro asked the boy. No, but I still worry. Is it so wrong to care about the three of you? I haven't known you guys for years or anything, but I still consider you guys as friends, wouldn't you say? Luffy and Uda both smiled. Of course, they shouted in unison. We may have to part ways someday, but I'll always think of you as a friend, Luffy assured. If it ever comes to a duel, I won't hold back, but I would consider you a close friend, Uda yawned. When I was little. Yeah, I'm not gonna listen to your yapping, though. Shut it. Koby let out a sad grumble. Footsteps. Someone's coming. The bar doors opened slowly and a marine lieutenant walked through, accompanied by several other marines. You there, he said. His skin was dark and he had a sharp trimmed beard. We heard you fellas are actually pirates. Is this rumor true? He asked. Yes, we are. If you're here to capture us, I would suggest turning around, Uda growled, ready to attack. We appreciate everything you did to save our town from that horrible tyrant that terrorized us all for so long. However, know that we know you're pirates. As marines, we cannot sit idle and watch you go about your business. You must leave this island immediately. But out of respect, we will not report you to headquarters. Are you crazy? You have some nerve to talk to them like that. Before these pirates came along, you were as scared of Morgan as we were. Without them, we'd still be under his reign. We owe them our lives. Townspeople chatter. That's our cue to leave. Thanks for the food, lady, Luffy said respectfully. Hey, wait a second. You're leaving already? Rika asked, sad to see them go. Here. Uda handed Rika a small, readjustable bracelet. Pink and red beads with a UTA charm. As a parting gift, the Marines are right, we can't stay. It wouldn't be right for a bunch of pirates to be hanging out on a marine base unattended, don't you think? Oh well, thanks Miss Uda. Please, just Uda is fine, Uda giggled before standing up and walking away. Luffy. Zoro. Let's go. What about you? Aren't you part of their crew as well? The lieutenant asked Koby, who froze in place in fear. Well, He's not. He was an enslaved cabin boy on Alvida's pirate ship. Make him a marine for us, it's been a dream of his, Uda said to the marine with an unnerving smile. Count this as your way of repaying us. The three left the bar, leaving Koby standing there, afraid and shaking in front of all of the marines. I don't know if we can fully trust this kid. There are many cases of marines being pirate spies, a marine told the lieutenant. I say we conduct a background check first. I don't care what you say, I'm a man who will become a marine, Koby shouted, gathering all of his confidence. There was a moment of silence before the lieutenant walked past Koby. I can't tell you how many of our comrades have been killed by pirates over the years. This is a big step you're taking. Asps. Permission to join granted. Sir. Koby saluted the man, and he couldn't even begin where to begin thanking Uda and Luffy. Without them, his coward self would have never been able to speak up. That could have gone worse than it did, Zoro remarked after they reached the docks. I'm glad Uda was the one to speak for Koby. Hey oh, damn. I think I left my jacket in there, Uda groaned. Snap. Out of the corner of his eye, Zoro watched a few music notes gather together and then form into her jacket with a bright glow. How the hell did you two manage to get your hands on 2 devil fruits anyway? Uda leaned against Luffy's shoulder and smiled. When Luffy was 7, he ate the one Shanks had stolen from a marine ship. Shanks said he gave me mine when I was 5-ish after I told him I wanted to be a singer, Uda explained with a smile. It's really a gamble unless you have a devil fruit encyclopedia. There was nothing on either of ours, but the shape of mine was kinda obvious. If you're looking for one, that'll be a whole lot of money to cough up. And you create money. Yeah, but where's the fun in that? Uda giggled. Luffy, Uda, I can never thank you enough for what you have done for me, Koby shouted, saluting the pirates. I've never heard of a marine thanking a pirate. That's one for the history books, Zoro snickered. We'll meet again, Koby, don't worry, Luffy shouted as Uda untied the rope anchoring them to the port. Maybe Luffy's grandpa can help you to become a lot stronger, I heard they call him the marine hero, Uda laughed, kicking off. Aye, guys, Rika waved. All hands, salute, the lieutenant ordered, then looked down at Koby. Those are some great friends you have there. I have a feeling that the woman is going to become the most famous pop star, what do you think? Uda yeah. She'll be one hell of a singer. I wonder if I'll get to meet her former crew someday. And that is? The red hair pirates. But we let red hair Uda get away. Lieutenant, maybe it's best if we didn't capture her, I'm sure red hair Shanks wouldn't be so easy about, a marine joked. Damn. Uda laid against the side of the ship, comfortable as can be. In case any of you are wondering, I packed enough food for a week. There's also a book on hockey if you want to look into it, Zoro. It's hard to learn, but you really should do it. Luffy, once we reach land, try and find us a bigger boat as soon as possible. Why don't you just make one, Zoro asked her. Too lazy. Plus, it's not our main priority right now. There's 3 of us and plenty of room. The ship's on course for a place called Orange Town, so just sit back and relax, Uda exhaled. It looks like we're just drifting to me, Zoro scoffed. I need a nap, there's a log post tied to the mast. Make sure the ship is aligned with it and we'll be fine. After a few hours, Zoro spotted something in the distance. Hey, you see that, he asked Luffy. Luffy sat up and squinted his eyes. What? That over there, he repeated, pointing ahead. Oh, yeah. Hey, stop, men overboard, the Specs shouted. Please help us. Zoro began rowing towards them and let out an annoyed sigh. Oh, great. There were 3 men dressed poorly in the water. Zoro and Luffy helped them up but were immediately threatened with swords. Somehow, the man didn't notice the beautiful diva sleeping under some covers. Are you sure you want to do that, Zoro grinned. Try not to wake Uda, Luffy told Zoro after beating up the 3 men who claimed to be henchmen of the Buggy pirates. I didn't plan on touching your girlfriend in the first place. Hold on, Uda is not. The 2 watched as Uda snuggled against Luffy's side before yawning. I hate both you, Luffy growled, a little embarrassed. It looks like she wants you to me. I know little to nothing about love, but Uda clearly likes you more than you think, Zoro remarked. It blows my mind to see how her flirts go right over your head. The teasing, the queen of the pirates, I watch her stare at you and smile when you're not looking. But. I mean, just look at her. Luffy looked down at Uda. She had her body practically wrapped around him. She wasn't tense anywhere and she hugged his straw hat, which she stole prior to falling asleep. She looked, what's the word? Cute. Hey, pirate hunter, can we take a break? No. Keep paddling. This is one lame place to have a pirate crew, Zoro said as Luffy and Uda butted heads. Why did you let them get away? You could have easily stopped them, I was fixing my hair. You could have, too. What does it matter, anyway, Uda sighed, dropping her shoulders. It's not like they were a threat. Yeah, I guess. Zoro came to a stop, so Uda stopped before Luffy and stuck her foot out in front of him. The poor boy tripped over her foot and face planted into the road. Ow, what the hell was that for, Uda, Luffy growled as he picked himself up. You tripped on your own foot. I watched you, Uda lied with a grin. You bastard. He. Suddenly, an orange-haired woman ran past the crew, screaming. She froze and turned around, running up to Luffy. There were 2 pirates chasing her. Oh, hey, boss, thanks for coming to save me, she shouted, holding her hands together. Luffy looked at Uda and Zoro and then back at the woman. Who are you, he asked. The woman darted off the direction she was running and smiled. They're all yours now, boss. Have fun. Zoro took out his swords, but Uda let out a small burst of Conqueror's Haki, knocking the men out in an instant. A shiver ran down Zoro's spine and he let out a small yell. What was that, did you guys feel that too, he asked, turning to Uda, who was kicking the unconscious bodies gently. Conqueror's Haki. You'll get used to it after a while, Uda snickered with a smug grin. I have a better grasp on the concept than Luffy. But no, you don't, Shanks even said so himself that I was at least twice as better than you, Luffy shouted angrily. Yeah, whatever you say, Uda taunted. Zoro stood at the 2, dumbfounded. His captains were not only offsprings of dangerous people, but also conquerors. Not to mention they both had devil fruits. You guys are full of surprises. Makes me eager to learn this hockey thing now, Zoro said, staring at his arms. Conqueror's Haki isn't something you can learn. Gotta be born with it. Uda's right on this one. Zoro rolled his eyes and put his swords back in their scabbards. I can't grow stronger if you guys beat everyone without giving me a chance. Take it from here, then, Uda giggled. Hey, you guys are really strong. Uda, Luffy and Zoro looked up to the rooftops only to see the woman from earlier. You didn't even lay a finger on them and they fell to the ground, the woman shouted in awe. You're the girl who set us up, Luffy yelled at her. You're the girl I saw back when we fought Alvida, you were loading in a whole bunch of gold if I remember correctly, Uda interrupted. I'm surprised you remember me, the girl chuckled. I'm a talented thief who steals strictly from pirates. The name's Nami, wanna team up with me? No, the 3 answered abruptly in unison. Uda grabbed Luffy's wrist and turned him around. Zoro spun around as well and they began walking away. I'm so hungry. Let's go get some food then. I wouldn't mind refilling my booze, so why not? Hold on, Nami shouted to them, jumping off of the balcony. At least think about it first. An idea popped into the woman's mind. Hey, I know a good place to eat if you guys are willing to sit down and chat. The smirks on their faces was perfect. Later. Zoro, Uda, Luffy and Nami were sitting inside an empty home, dining to their heart's content. Yum, Luffy exclaimed after shoving a burger down his throat. Are you the one that lives here? Uda slid a glass of water over to Luffy slowly just in case. This place isn't mine, but I do live here for the time being, Nami responded, stabbing a fork through the tablecloth. Everybody has left this town because of that clown. Clown, you mean? Buggy, Uda asked, eyeing the woman cautiously. Yeah. So you're just a petty little thief, Luffy snickered, causing both Zoro and Uda to snort into their drinks. How rude, Nami gasped, offended. I only steal from people who deserve it. Pirate, so don't compare me to some scumbag petty thief. A thief is a thief, Luffy continued. My goal is to have 100 million berries, no matter how hard it is or how long it takes, Nami said, hopping off of the table to her feet. Why does one need so much? Luffy asked with a smile, glancing at Uda who shook her head slowly. It's a secret. But with chart of the Grand Line, my goal is definitely posse. What the? Uda unrolled the map and stared at it in awe. I'll give that back, Nami growled, snatching her chart out of Uda's hands. How the hell did you grab it from me? I didn't even see you move. Uda grinned smugly and let out a light laugh. Don't worry about how with such a chart, you must be a navigator, right? Uda asked, receiving a look from Zoro. I'm the most skilled navigator you'll ever probably meet, Nami smiled and confidently replied. Navigator, huh? Why don't you join my crew? We've been looking for a navigator, since Uda can't figure it out. Hey, I know more about it than you do, Uda barked angrily only for Luffy to laugh in her face. Doesn't change the fact that we need one. Whatever, jackass. No, Nami firmly declined. All three sets of eyes immediately turned to Nami. I suppose this means you three are pirates. Damn right, Luffy said, taking off his straw hat. Me and Uda made a promise to a certain man, the one who gave me this hat and the inspiration to form a crew, that I'd surpass him one day and become the greatest pirate ever. There's nothing in this world that I despise more than pirates, Nami shouted, only further intimidating Uda. I only like money and tangerines. Well, guess what, Uda said to Nami. You're in a room full of pirates that saved you without purpose. There are good pirates and bad pirates in this world, and I learned that the hard way. Nami walked off to a window and gripped the windowsill. Your loss, Luffy said, returning to the basket of bread. Outside, two men in an inaudible conversation were spotted out of the corner of Nami's view. I have to do something about them. Nami turned around to see Luffy and Uda bickering about something as Zoro tried to separate them. I guess I could consider joining you, but only if you'll agree to certain conditions. Hard pass, Uda scowled. I know you're up to something we don't know about. Why is this woman so stuck up and she's too smart? Hold on, Luffy chuckled as Uda sat down. At least let her try. The moment Nami moved her hands, Zoro put his hands on his swords and Uda stepped between Luffy and Nami. Nami took a step back and frowned. I have a plan to rob Buggy. Uda and Zoro eased slightly and Luffy turned to them and smiled. You guys are acting like she's an admiral-level threat, he joked. Well, with your idiocy, who knows what kind of trouble you can get us into, Uda shouted, throwing bread at him. The bread hit Luffy's chest and fell to the floor. There's no way you're just through. Luffy let out a disappointed sigh, making Uda blush. If you weren't weak to swords, I would have thrown my spear at you, Uda growled. Luffy stuck his tongue out at Uda and she did it back. What's this plan of yours, Zoro asked Nami, who was getting really annoyed by the two others. I was going to tie all three of you up, act like you're my prisoners to make an offering, and then you guys can beat 'em up, right? Nami said with a nervous smile. Hey, I'm bored. Buggy won't be so mean, Uda shrugged. Moments later. Am I dreaming or did you actually throw our stuff into a portal? Zoro asked as Nami pulled the three forward. We have to be disarmed. Who would let their prisoners have weapons? Luffy asked. Common sense, Uda added. And to answer your question, yes, I did. Can you three shut up? Nami growled as the doors opened. There were rows of pirates dressed like circus freaks surrounding the four. In the center was a massive tent. Cherry on top, Uda snickered. SHH. That's the sneaky thief that stole the chart, one of the henchmen shouted. Nami shoved the three forward and walked past them with the map. I have caught the ones that stoke your map, Captain Buggy, and here's your chart back, Nami said, standing in front of the absolute freak in front of Uda and Luffy, who were trying so hard to not laugh. Not that I don't appreciate it, but why the sudden change of heart, girl? Buggy asked, staring at the chart in Nami's hand. Nami handed Buggy the map and shrugged. I had another fight with my boss, and I just couldn't take it anymore, so I thought I'd see if I could join your crew. Nami lied. Buggy growled, scaring the other pirates. Ah, Captain Buggy sure does look angry, doesn't he? He's gonna use the devil fruit power. Buggy let out a laugh you'd expect from a clown. I must admit, you're an amusing girl. I like you, of course you can join my crew. Buggy laughed louder. Nami smiled to herself. I've successfully infiltrated them. Pirates are so dumb and easy to manipulate. Zoro sat up and pulled the ropes off of him. This is lame, he said, cracking his neck and knuckles. Wanna get out of here? Yeah, Luffy responded as the rope snapped. Uda sat up, but her hood was flipped down, revealing her hair and face. Oops, she said. Buggy's jaw immediately dropped. What the hell, he shouted, visibly shaking in fear. Why the hell are you here? Uda smiled and stood up with the other two. Hi, Uncle Buggy, Uda giggled tauntingly. I'm sure Shanks is going to be real excited that we met. Uncle, everyone, except Luffy and Buggy, shouted. Yep, if Buggy wants to say he's Shanks' brother, then that would make him my uncle, since Shanks is my father, Uda continued, only further stunning the pirates. By the way, how come you never came to visit me? Buggy wanted to play it off. He never let me come see you because I was too dangerous. Yeah, that's right, Buggy said with a nervous smile. Uda squinted her eyes and smirked. Sure, I bet that even I could beat you, let alone Shanks, Uda snickered as Luffy stretched his arm out to grab a piece of meat on a nearby table. Hey, don't eat that. Uda grabbed the meat and threw it off the edge and angrily stared at Luffy. You don't know where that's been, she scolded him. Luffy stared at Uda as Zoro pushed one of the frozen pirates over. Don't mind me, he said as he began slashing down the two stunned-to-move pirates. Buggy gritted his teeth in anger. Uda is overwhelming strong. I remember Red Hair yapping about her using Conqueror's Haki as well. If I can get on her good side, I'll be in the clear for now. But about this brat with my chart. Oh, and I saw your tattoo, Nami, of the Arlong pirates, Uda began. Nami's heart dropped. Why yeah, that was just from way back then, she hurriedly said. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow Icyiclo for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.